Hey, Ron, did you and Robert just have a wedding anniversary?
Did we?
I don't know. When did you get married? It occurred to me it's like end of June. Did you get married at end of June?
I don't remember.
Should you check in? It's today your anniversary.
Let me go ask him. Hold on. I don't know. It is.
Today?
Yes. I don't know.
Well, damn, Veronica, I should not have you recording on your anniversary day.
That's okay. He's taking a nap.
I woke up this morning and I was like, I feel like this might be their anniversary, but I don't know. I don't remember. So,
Well, it's not like we'd be doing anything like in the middle of the day anyway.
Well, y'all should go out to dinner tonight.
All right. I think I'm ready.
All right. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Latin American and Spanish language horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're back.
We're back.
We're back from our break. Veronica, did you miss us?
I just saw you at camping trip.
If you guys were with us during the month of June when Ronnie and I took our time off, we had 2 compilation-style episodes for you guys. One that kind of took a look at some of the memorable movies we watched, and then one that took a look at all the books we read this past quote-unquote year. So if you haven't listened to those episodes, do. They're fun. It was fun to look back on some of those episodes and revisit some happy moments. There were 2 of those clips in our book episode featured our friend Perla Caballero. So it was good to hear her voice on the podcast again. And hopefully we will have her back again soon.
Yes.
I think that's all that I have up top. I guess we can just get right into it, Ron, if you're ready.
Disclaimer again, our usual going to be spoilers in this hour that we're talking about this movie. So if you haven't seen it or planning to see it, you might want to consider pausing, go watch it, and then come back and join us. Otherwise, you've been warned. We watched 2014's Shrew's Nest. The original title, it's a Spanish movie out of Spain, is Musarañas, which to me kind of sounds like it would have to deal with spiders, but anyway.
That's what I thought too. I was like, arañas. I just
Musarañas. Musarañas. Shrew's Nest. All right. It was produced by Alex de la Iglesia. We've seen one of his movies, at least in the past, but he was just production credit on this movie, directed by Juanfer, Andrés, and Esteban Roel, which that name sounds familiar, Roel. Maybe it's just the last name.
Yeah. I wonder how frequent it is that there's a movie co-directed by 2 people. I wonder if that's weird or difficult. I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
But it stars Macarena Gomez, Nadia de Santiago, Hugo Silva, Luis Tosar, and Gracia Olayo. And our little tagline reads, 1950s Madrid, Montse, an agoraphobic woman prefers to stay inside her apartment all the time. Her solitude is disturbed when she is forced to shelter their neighbor who injures himself and crawls up to her door. And I would like to say, Valerie, coincidentally enough, you know, Robert, I think he had mentioned at the camping trip that I'd been having nightmares. I didn't have any the whole break from the podcast, but I had my first one last night.
Well,
a few weeks.
I don't even understand that. It's not like we're watching particularly horrific stuff.
I know. It wasn't even like scary, the movie. But anyway, it's just coincidence, I'm sure. But it was interesting.
Interestingly enough, I had a dream the other night where everybody, like you, your family, mom and dad, Alex, my kids, like you people all went to Paris, like presumably long term took off to Paris. And I stayed behind with Alex's and my new baby. Like we had a new baby. Who I think's name was like Diego or something like that. Like, I don't freaking know, but I was just like, what the hell? Why Paris? I don't know. Well, first of all, let's just talk initial reactions. What did you think of it?
It was very slow. The first probably hour, I was like, is this even a scary movie? Is this even supposed to be a horror movie? I was trying to look it up, but then I didn't want to because, you know, I always like to go in just completely blind, not knowing anything. But I was like, is this just going to be like a drama?
Right. Yeah. It was a slow burn. Yeah.
Very, very slow.
Did you like it? Like, I didn't not like it, but.
Yeah, I didn't not like it. I thought like the ending picked up and was a little more eventful, but it was just, and I thought the actress that played Montse did really, really well. And Robert was also like equally impressed with the way she could go from like seeming so meek and demure and
Right. And fragile,
switching and fragile, extremely
yeah.
fragile and vulnerable, and then switching to like batshit crazy and
Yeah.
rage. The rage. So I think
Yeah, I have a couple, like, we'll talk about it when we talk
uh,
about points and stuff. Did you feel, because this one was, like, right in the sweet spot of your
mhm.
hour and a half, like, did you feel like you felt every minute of that, or did it hold you pretty well?
Considering that it was what I call my sweet spot, an hour and a half for a horror movie, it still felt kind of long. Like I said, that
Okay.
first hour, I was looking at my phone because I was just like, okay, I'm waiting for something to happen.
When does the scary stuff happen? Yeah, there wasn't, like, there weren't really, like, jump scares or anything like that. There's was
Mm-mm.
disturbing imagery towards the end, but yeah, in the
Mhm.
beginning, I was just like, "This feels like a little like a not even a thriller, just sort of" what did I say about it? Like, initially, I thought this was gonna be some horror take on The Taming of the Shrew. I don't know
Mhm.
why I thought that. Well, like, I know that The Taming of the Shrew, even though it's a comedy, also centers around 2 sisters, so I thought maybe that would be
That's
some.
what's like Petruchio and
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
the one
Um,
I've seen the Elizabeth Taylor version where she's the
uh,
shrew.
yeah.
Maybe
Who's
Kate,
the Kate or
Catherine.
Katarina or
Kind of,
Catherine
yeah.
something? And
Just want to make sure I
Bianca.
was referencing the
Yeah,
right thing.
yeah, but I didn't uncover anything online that seemed to indicate that that had anything to do with it. So I think I was just, that was just me thinking that on my part. But yeah, like I did not like it, but I didn't feel like it really, there was nothing other than Macarena Gomez's performance. There weren't like big standout things to me in this movie. I have a hair on my mouth. Although I do want to ask you about, like, when we'll get to it, but like the last scene of the movie,
Oh yeah.
I did kind of want to be like, well, what is your take on that? So we'll
Oh, I
get
was
to that.
like, what?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, sorry, there's like a hair on my face. I think that Macarena Gomez really holds your attention throughout
Hmm.
the movie. She's very, very good in this film, and I really felt for her, even though,
Yeah,
yeah,
she has
she has
definite mental health issues and a
she has
traumatic
broken
past.
with
Yeah.
reality. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But you feel for her. You feel for
Yeah.
her, and which I think is a testament to that actress and the job that she did. So, but like, as you noted, Ron, one of the movies, for those of you listening, one of them, Alex de la Iglesia, his other tie to this show is that we watched The Day of the Beast back in 2024. I don't remember. I think it was one of our episodes last year. Because of that, because I knew he had a hand in this movie, although I didn't
Hmm.
know to what degree yet. I was thinking this might be a little kooky, little humorous, but I don't.
Hmm.
I think it was genuinely trying to be earnest in what it was doing. So I don't. Were there moments of humor? Not
I don't.
intentional humor.
I don't recall any.
The only
No.
thing that the delivery, and again, it wasn't intentionally funny. After the scene where Monsi has dismembered Alicia, the wife, and then she sees her sister again at the end of the day, and her little sister's like, "Hey, how was the day?" And she goes, "It was hectic."
Mm.
Thought that was unintentionally funny. But other than that, no, it was not. It was not kooky at all. Any stick out moments of this scene, or anything that you want to set up for viewers about it? The little sister and Monsi live together in a flat.
We don't really leave that flat a whole lot.
We don't. Little
Most of the
sister
action
doesn't
takes
even
place.
have a name, does she?
No, we never learn her name because they're always just once is just always calling her cariña or niña or
Yeah.
querida, just little endearments, but
Right.
we
Yeah.
never learn her name
So
at
all we
all.
establish about them is that they're sisters. Monsi is a seamstress, a very talented seamstress, but she doesn't leave her home. She's agoraphobic. So she just is terrified to leave her home. It's interesting because I just recently, Ron, I rewatched Copycat from the 90s. Copycat with Sigourney Weaver and Helen
Mm,
Hunt. Do you remember that movie?
I don't think I ever saw that one.
You might be familiar with it if you saw like the trailer for it or something. But in the movie, Helen Hunt is a investigator investigating a serial killer. Sigourney Weaver is a serial killer expert. She's a criminal minds expert. But she, because of an incident that she has with someone that she had, I guess, like put away for life with her
Hmm.
testimony, and then like he had, anyway, long story short, she has agoraphobia as well. And so this is my second movie that I'm watching this month that features someone suffering agoraphobia.
Maybe I did watch that. It does sound kind of familiar.
So anyway, I kind of went into this thinking, well, that's going to be an interesting thing to play on, what it must be like to be trapped in your home and have that home be infiltrated by a threat Of course, in this movie, she is the threat. She is the danger, and she
Well,
brings
and
someone
you
inside.
also would think that considering the trauma that she suffered in that apartment, that that would be the last place she would want to be at. Like that she would want to be out and
That's
be
true.
somewhere else.
That's very true.
Go be agoraphobic somewhere else.
Go find your own sanctuary and then
Yeah.
never leave that. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. So that's sort of the framing of the movie. That's kind of how we open. Is that's her reality.
The first time that Monse, because her kind of the background is with their parents, is that the mother died giving birth to the younger sister, and then their father went off to war and never came back. So
Right.
that's the story about their parents. So the first time that you see her seeing her father, his ghost, whatever you want to call it, what was it?
Hallucination. What are you asking? Like what
Like
his name was, or
no, what did he say in that first? Maybe it wasn't the first one, maybe it was the second, but the first couple of times that she envisions him in her mind, or I don't know if it's a hallucination or whatever it is.
yeah.
After the mother died, I had a moment where I was like, ugh, is this going to be like an incestuous thing? Because if it is, I'm turning it off right now. I'm not going to watch it. But then every time he appeared to her after that, you didn't get that, or I didn't get those vibes off the way she responded to him. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it wasn't that, and he was just this puritanical,
Right.
extremely religious, very strict person, and that's why Monse is the way she is now.
Yes.
So I kind of rode along with the movie, and
well, and thankfully, like to the point about incestual whatever. Thankfully they don't dive into that. Like they don't show anything like that, because that would have been unpleasant. That's another thing that I guess he's very pious and hyper religious, and so is she. And at the start of the movie, she's having her sister like say the Our Father. What is that? The daily prayer? I don't know. I'm such a bad. What is that? Ron,
Psalms, Our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah. That bit. So that brings me to one of my points that I wanted to mention, was just like the big use of religion and religious symbol all throughout this movie. And I think, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Day of the Beast, again, referencing Iglesia, because I think we're being shown the piety, the perceived piety of these certain characters in this movie. And then you're putting it in direct contrast to their ugly actions in this film. And there's a lot of religious horror films. There's a lot of religious horror films that come out of Spain that we've watched, that we've taken a look at.
Because religion, and that has nothing to do with a belief in God, because you can believe in God, but man-constructed religion, how many horrors have been done worldwide
in the name of
in the name of religion?
Right.
Spain had the Spanish Inquisition, and just
yes, we
had our witch hunts, Salem witch hunts here in America. I mean, there's just and all kinds of just genocides that have been done in the name of religion.
Some of the quote unquote most holy characters are also the ones doing the most evil crap in this movie. So what did you think of, so we've already talked about her performance, but like, I guess plot wise, pacing wise, what did you think of Monsi's slow descent into madness, essentially?
It was very slow. I could have been, picked up a little bit more pacing wise that first hour, but that might have been, intentional, and certainly setting it in the majority of that action, with the exception of a quick jaunt into Carlos's apartment and some scenes in the hallway right outside the door. Pretty much all the action, the entire movie is contained within Monse and her sister's apartment.
Which is a nice apartment.
Yeah, it's a very nice apartment, very roomy, but it does give that claustrophobic feel. So we're kind of almost trapped in this apartment with Monse. And I think she even describes it at one point in the movie as like a coffin. It's become a coffin to her, and that she knows that she's trapped there.
And she wants to have a life. Because like her little sister has just turned 18 at the start of this movie. And so she's becoming aware that her sister may want to eventually go off and live a life on her own. And then like, where does that leave Monse? How does she go on?
When she does bring Carlos into the house to nurse him, I think that even more than her sister turning 18 was the catalyst for her wanting to try to find a path to having a normal, quote unquote, life.
Yeah, and just like totally ill-equipped and not knowing how to do it.
Now she goes off. She takes the wrong path to get there.
The wrong turn to get there. What do you think compelled her to help him in the first place? Just
because she's sitting
wanting
there
to be a good person.
she's sitting there and she's looking up at that religious painting of Jesus, like reaching down to help some man on the ground.
Some
So
man in need, yeah.
yeah, so I think that compelled her to do the Christian thing, do as Christ would do, and
Right.
she drug him in, but then she didn't. She didn't call for a doctor. She didn't. She just kind of
And that was interesting when she tells him,
kept him
when
there.
he's like, if you can call somebody, whatever. And she goes, we don't have a phone. And in my head, I was thinking, I feel like you do have a phone. Like, I don't know if we'd seen a scene previously where one of them was on the phone, but I was just like, I feel like she's lying. And then sure enough, we learn later on that, yes, for sure, she is lying. She does have a phone. And that was like almost immediately that happened. And I was just like, oh, this is already going in a bad place. She's lying for no reason. Was there anything you didn't like in this film?
Honestly, I didn't really like the younger sister. I mean, I didn't dislike her, but I just thought, I certainly understood her the first time that Monse like hits her and does that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde turn of
Switch,
personality. Totally understand why she was angry and upset. But then later on, especially after Monse finally confesses, like what their father did to her.
Right.
And she doesn't even know the full of it. Like she hasn't
Right.
yet learned that Monse is her mother also.
Right.
By their father.
Yeah.
She just knows, she's just heard the story that for years and years after their mother died, their father sexually molested her. And her first response is not sympathy or kindness. It's just, I'm going to call the police. And what if I call the police and tell them what you did to Papa? I'm like, hello? Have a little, yes, she's done some things, but at least in that moment, and when you learn the horror she suffered alone and for how long, have a little grain of empathy.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, obviously there's that opening, or not opening, but there's that early scene where Monsi lashes out at her and like does the whipping of the hands with the, all because she was outside talking to a boy. So you have that early scene of trauma that fuels little sister's resentment. Then they get past it, but then I kind of feel like she takes that, and obviously this is a snippet in the life of these two characters, so we're made to assume that this is just par for the course. This happens all the time. She endures her sister's occasional tyrannical parenting, but it just seems like she latches onto that and hangs onto that, and it's just like, my sister can no longer be trusted. And Carlos, if you know what's good for you, you'll get out, even though obviously he can't get out. But it's just like,
well, and that's the thing, right? Because that only works if that's like the first time that Monse has ever done that. Because before that, they seem to have a very loving relationship, no issues. So I feel like that only works if that's the first time that that's happened. If it's happened before, then it should have opened differently. I don't know. I don't think I'm expressing what I'm trying to say the right way.
No, I think I get what you're saying, because it's like if it's happened before, then we wouldn't have gotten such a pleasant opening between those two of like, happy birthday, da 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 da, flowers, yo, yay. And like you got the sense of like a very loving sister relationship. And which is what makes that swatting so freaking weird, because she comes out with the stick and I was like, oh no. And then she whacks her and it's like, no. Alex was like, because I was watching it while they were playing video games or something, and I was watching it by myself with headphones on. And later on, he's like, you were really loud watching that movie. I was just like, no. It's been a long time since I've seen corporal punishment in a movie. So I was just like, no. Yeah, I don't feel like you would be opening with such a pleasant camaraderie between those two if the relationship was so sour. So it does sort of seem like it comes out of nowhere. And then like that one incident fuels the rest of her misgivings about her sister, which seems a little unfair. Us, the audience, we're learning about her trauma before little sister is. So we know what she doesn't know. And so we're like, hey, have a heart. She's got her demons to deal with.
Well, even after Monse tells her that she's having feelings for Carlos, right? It's the only man in her life that she's ever had this with, and that because of him, she's wanting to
try to
overcome her agoraphobia. And again, she hasn't called a doctor, so that's definitely a valid point. But what is the first thing that little sister goes and does that night? She sneaks into his room in her
slip.
in her little slip nightgown thing. And
I was like, a lady of that time would never.
I'm like, hello, your sister just told you that she fancies this dude, and so you're going to go in there in your little slip dress. I don't know.
I don't know. That bothered me too, because I was like, you have a boy on the street that you've been talking to. Like, what are you don't even know this guy.
And he's older than you're, like 18.
Yeah. That was weird too. But it bothered me that she appears in her slip, just because I was like, she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. Although she is the sister who, like, of the period, I'm saying she wouldn't do that. But she is the one who also is like, seems to be off of religion because of, how much Monsi has hammered it into her since being a child. You get scenes where little sister is like, she hides the cross under her bed because she doesn't like it. She doesn't like that Jesus's eyes always seem to be following you. And there's lots of good one-liners in this movie, like that scene where she hides the cross and she tells Monsi, I don't like it. His eyes follow you wherever you go. They're always watching. And Monsi says, because that's how it is. I thought that was such a beautifully delivered line, and so sort of what I'm looking for. So succinct for, I guess, like religion and what we know about whatever.
He's watching your murders, Monse, too.
Exactly.
But my issue with her appearing in her slip dress to Carlos that night wasn't even about going against religious morals. It was just like, this is your sister. What is it? What is the word? I know for like guys, they say bros before hoes. What is there's something similar for girls. I can't remember what it is.
Chicks before GICKS.
We're not going to say it. But anyway, that was my issue.
Just listen to this podcast, so I'm not going to say it.
That was my issue with it. It wasn't even like a moral thing or against social mores of the time. It was just like, dude, this is your sister who's expressed an interest in this guy, so you do not go after that guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. You have a guy. What are you doing? Like, you don't need this guy. Let her have this guy. If there's a chance she can come out of this and pull through, let's be rooting for her.
There's a chance,
and I was rooting for her.
Like
at the beginning, that lady that she does the dresses for, that woman was going to be your business backer. Like, you could have had such a great life if you would have just like
taken those steps. But yeah, I was rooting for her too, but it was not to be.
Not to be. Before we get like towards the ending parts, were there anything in the beginning or middle that stuck out to you?
I had issues that to me didn't make sense, and two of them, and one of them again involves little sister, because she was leaving the apartment daily. She has a job somewhere in some shop. Why did she never call the police? Have them come to the house?
I mean, by the end of the movie, because they've already had, her and Monsi have already had multiple negative exchanges at this point. So by the end of the movie, I'm like, why do you keep coming back? Like, you're obviously leaving to go somewhere. Like, stay gone, get help, call police, like, do something. But she keeps coming back.
Stay with a friend, because she even tells Carlos, hey, she's kidnapped you, basically. Right. So she knows things are not kosher. Go to the police. Go stay with a friend. So that was my first, like, okay, that makes no sense. The second makes no sense is when Madame Puri, what was her name?
Yeah, Doña Puri.
And her, I don't remember if it was her daughter or her niece,
come niece or something.
Because Monse is supposed to make a wedding dress for her, and they hear Carlos yelling in the bedroom, because by this point the man's leg is like septic. Like, he's not gonna, if he survives, he's not gonna keep this leg. It's
pretty nasty.
It's pretty nasty. And then we discover that Monse has, well, we don't discover, we know she killed his fiance.
We discover what she did with the body.
What she did with the body. And so Monse, like, I'm like, okay, there's two of you. You can't overpower this like 90-pound woman who looks like you could snap her in two.
Right?
She's not like she has a gun. She has knitting needles. So she can't be killing you both at the same time.
It would take some severe.
Like when she turned her back on them to close and lock the door. Like, hello, rush her. Like, do something. That didn't make sense to me either. I was like, okay.
The final leg of this movie, no pun intended. Final leg of this movie. It just took a turn, which I enjoyed. Like, like you said, prior to that point, I wasn't necessarily feeling that we were truly like in a horror film. And then we get to that part and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Pretty gnarly stuff. Yeah, I was not expecting Monsi to just fully snap like that. The part where she's like attempting, like I said, to dismember Elisa, I was just like, in the middle of the apartment, I was like, the blood alone, Monsi, this is not the place.
I know. I was like, how did she clean all that blood up?
Blood is just pouring out. I'm like, this is not the place. What else? I didn't I
And
didn't.
if you're gonna dismember a body, you don't start mid shin bone. Like, go for the joints.
So I wrote, like, I didn't take any notes in this movie, but I did start making some notes at the end. When she's doing that, she's doing the dismemberment, and he climbs out of bed and tries to haul down to the hallway and try to get out. And then we see her, and you're hearing all these horrific sounds. And so then we see where she's at in the process, and I was just like, "You're still on the leg." It's just like, you haven't made it further in, because it
Yeah.
sounds so horrific what you're listening to. I was just like, she's still on the leg, man. It's gonna be a long process.
Yeah, you need a power tool at least if you're gonna try to saw
She's
through
doing it with, like,
bone.
yeah, just like a regular handsaw. Yeah, I did not expect to see what she did with the body. And so, yeah, how Doña Puri and her niece find it. It's just like, oh, that's pretty nasty. You would think that would be smelling. I don't know.
Well, you
Yeah.
would have thought that about her father. When we learned the
Yeah.
story of what she did with her father, you'd think, like, hello, do neighbors not smell this?
But then, okay, so then that scene where she turns her back on Doña Puri and she's closing the door, their opportunity to have rushed her if they had been with it. What does she say? Another beautifully delivered line. She goes, "God will provide." And the way she delivers it is so creepy and just brilliantly done. I made a point of it. I even rewound it to look at it again. "God will provide." And she just has this plastered smile on her face. By the way, Ron, that actress who plays Doña Puri, she looked familiar to me all throughout the movie, so I went and looked. She's the redhead in Phenomena.
The redhead.
The redhead, the funny one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay. I
was just like, where have we seen her
with
before?
me. I didn't
Yeah,
recognize her.
she looked familiar, and I was just like, I feel like I've seen this woman before. And that's, yeah, she's in that movie.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so where in the movie did you have the suspicion that Monsi was indeed the mother?
Pretty early on, just based on
how little we knew about the mother.
Yeah, just the fact that there were no pictures of the younger girl with their mother. And then the beginning intro, when she talked about how every time, Monse would come in and would read these scary things, which turns out was the Bible,
was the Holy
stories
Bible,
from the Bible. And she didn't want to hear it because it was scary, so she would fake falling asleep so that Monse would stop reading and leave. And like every time she would leave, Monse would cry. And she mentioned how it wasn't until years later that she learned Monse would face her own monsters after that. And so
yes.
I don't remember exactly when, but it was definitely quite a bit before the reveal actually happens that I was like, oh, I bet Monse's going to end up being
and like when she sits her sister down to talk to her and have what we know is the big confession, and she confesses like what her father did to her every night. Like I thought that was going to be the big reveal, was that she was a mother, and then what she confesses is what her father did to her every night. And so I thought, oh, okay, so maybe that's the big reveal. But I feel like there are pieces that aren't adding up. And so then when we get to the end and she finds the crawl space where Monsi buried their father with the photo, and you see that sure enough it is Monsi in the photo with the baby, it wasn't quite as shocking as maybe they intended it to be, just because I feel like it was a very predictable. Like I had that suspicion long before we got to that scene, as did you. So I feel like it wasn't super shocking. It was more just like, yeah, that makes sense. That adds up to what we were thinking. Or,
Now, I did not realize I did not suspect that Monsi had killed their father, because
I didn't predict.
After she's killed Elisa and the vision of her husband, her father appears to her, and he makes a remark, something along the lines of, there aren't any more spaces to hide the body. And I even looked at Robert and I was like, well, what does that mean?
Because I didn't even clock that.
Yeah, he says something, because I looked at Robert and I said, well, what does that mean? There are no more spaces left.
That's right. And she says, we'll see. And I interpreted that as like, okay, she's willing to hurt her own sister now. Like I interpreted it as a threat. But I guess it just was like, I'm going to get creative with where I store the body. And she did. She made Elisa like the mannequin model. And I was like, no. Yeah, I didn't even clock that at all. That's a good catch.
Yeah, so that was a surprise to me. Like the fact that there was an incestuous thing going on. I suspected it, like I said, from the beginning, and then suspecting that the younger girl was actually her daughter. I suspected that, but never saw that Monse killed her father.
Yeah.
That she murdered him, which good for her.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's another instance where you feel empathy for her, and you're just like, yeah, that's what you got to do, because she said he was starting to show signs of being interested in little sister, which is her daughter. And it's like, yeah, do what you got to do. it makes it sad at the end where you
Yes.
feel sad for her.
Even though
She
she's
did a lot of
murdered.
killing,
Even though she's murdered 3 people so far.
but you
Well,
feel really sad
4
for
if you
her.
count her father. Her
Yeah.
father, Elisa. Yeah, 4 people.
4 people. Yeah. And she would have, honestly, I don't know, was she gonna maybe, I didn't get the sense that she wanted to kill her daughter, but you don't know.
Mm.
What did you make of the end then? So let's lay out the scene for people. What is the final scene?
Well, so she has stabbed Monse in self-defense, and then that's when Monse tells her where to find the bones of their father, and she realizes that Monse had gotten pregnant by their father and had her, and so she goes back and she cradles and sings to Monse as she passes away, and then she goes. The whole time I'm thinking, okay, but what happened to Carlos? Like he just kind of disappeared.
He's just hanging out.
He's just hanging out in the hall. But she goes and she drags Carlos. She drags him out into the hallway outside her door to the apartment. He asks her, or he says, I never even knew your name. And he looks in bad shape. Like
He looks on the brink. Yeah.
Yeah, like he looks in really, really bad shape. And she whispers her name in his ear, so we still never learn it.
Never learn it. Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, that's beautiful." And she lays him down, and then she goes back into her apartment and shuts the door, and it ends.
And
so I looked
did
at
you
Rob
make
and I
of
was like,
that?
"Wait," I was like, "What the hell? That's it?"
How are you interpreting that?
I don't know.
Is she now gonna like wall herself up and become the shrew?
Is she gonna become Monse? She went back into the shrew's nest. But
Very weird.
there's like 3 fresh corpses in there. Like, what are you gonna do?
Including your mom. Like you can't just keep storing bodies in the apartment. And also, are you gonna call for help so somebody finds this guy? Or are you just gonna let him die out there?
And does nobody else live in this apartment building besides besides Carlos' apartment on the floor above and theirs? Like, and actually, Robert had a good point. It's like if Carlos dies, people are going to come looking for. I'm sure that Doña Puri's husband knows.
Yes.
If Carlos dies, then there's no proof that she wasn't the one to kill all these people.
That's true.
Like it's just going to be her saying, "Oh no, it was Monse." I mean, Carlos has to live in order to verify her story,
right?
So I don't know. That ending was just, and I don't know if the point was the only point maybe that the directors wanted to make was that she went back into this apartment, and it's just the point of like generational trauma just repeats itself, and now she's gonna maybe not be quite to the degree of off her, off the rails as Monse was, but.
And there was a voiceover at the beginning and at the end about where she is kind of talking about shrews, like that they're rodents or something like that. I vaguely remember what the voiceover at the end was, but it might. I was trying to see if maybe that kind of helped explain the ending, because it talks about like some rodents or whatever a shrew is, some of them will bite you and have venomous bites and yada, yada, yada. And then I guess the implication is that, and then there are some that are completely harmless. And it's just like, is she going to wall herself up and become a harmless old spinster? Or is she going to be a murderous shrew? I don't know. It was interesting ending, and I didn't know what to make of it. So I wanted to ask you about it.
And I'm like, does Carlos live? Does anybody find him? Unresolved ending. I was like, what? That's it?
So what's so funny, Ron, is when I was trying to dig up summer horror movies for us to watch, thinking along the lines of summer camp horror, this is what came up. And so I don't know, like this does not scream summer fun to me, but it was an interesting movie. I mean, definitely. Where would you rate this one on the don't watch at night scale?
You can watch it at night.
Yeah,
it wasn't
scary.
Watch
this. You can watch this one without lights on. It was there were no jump scares really. There's just like some gruesomeness, but even at that, it's not like you totally see her sawing up this body. You don't really.
No.
You just see corpse.
Yeah,
you see corpse meat.
You just see her from behind, like sawing. But
yeah. On that note, Ronnie and I were lamenting that we forgot to give Suspiria a don't watch at night light scale rating. So where would you have rated that one?
That one also, I think you can watch at night.
You can watch that one. I wanted you to replicate the witch voices again.
I don't remember how it went.
I did some digging because this Macarena Gomez is such a great actress. And so I went looking to see, well, what else has she done? She's done a number of movies that I recognize only because they routinely come up whenever we're trying to find films for us to watch on the show. So there's a horror drama called Everyone Will Burn that came out in 2021. And then there's, I don't know if I'm saying this right, it's called DWAN which is a horror movie set at sea. So it's a water horror film that
Mhm.
I forget when it came out. And then there was a horror comedy, Ron, that she's in called Witching and Bitching.
Okay, that one might be cool.
That's also by De La Iglesia, Alex De La Iglesia. So, and it also has the guy who plays Carlos in this movie. So I guess he likes to bring back a lot of repeat performers.
Hugo Silva.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't fare very well in the reviews. Some of the reviews that I read. Now, granted, he didn't really have a lot.
He didn't have a lot to do. Poor man.
But yeah, he didn't fare very well in some of those reviews that I read.
Yeah, there were. So what we have for you guys in show notes, there's a lot of comparisons to Misery, which I can see that. There's another, I don't remember if it was a book. It might have been a book turned movie, but the old movie with Clint Eastwood called The Beguiled, which I never saw.
I didn't see that one. Mm-mm.
I read the synopsis for it and it sounds very disturbing. So I don't think I want to see it. But yeah, so comparisons to those two films, I definitely see that. Misery for sure. Although like Misery to me is more brutal.
Yeah.
So this one's soft compared to that one.
I also looked at Robert at one point and I said, is this going to be like a Misery situation? Because I don't know if I want to watch it. Like I saw Misery, very good movie, but I don't think I would ever want to rewatch it.
No, yeah. Kathy Bates in that one. It was a good one. This one was available on Amazon. You may have already said this, Ron. Available on Amazon Prime. So if you haven't watched it, it's definitely worth at least one watch. If for no other reason, I was going to call her Monty, but the actress Macarena Gomez is great. She's fantastic. Ron, did you have any monthly recommendations? Anything?
I do.
Okay, yay! What you got?
I just probably over 3-4 days. I watched. It's on what is it on? It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's called Department Q.
Oh, I've heard of this. I don't know what it's about.
So it's set in Scotland. I think Edinburgh.
Okay.
Edinburgh, but Scotland anyway, in a police station. And I really only started checking it out because it stars Matthew Good, and I like him. I've seen him in some other things, so I really kind of checked it out for him.
What else has he been in?
He was in.
Because I don't know the name. It does not ring a bell.
No, but it might blank what that show is.
Well, here I can look up. You keep talking about what this one is. He
plays a DCI detective chief.
Oh yeah, I know the face.
Yeah, detective chief inspector. Now he's English, but he's he works over in Scotland, and he gets put in charge of basically a cold case squad. Mm-hmm. Like he and his partner were severely injured in a shooting, and this is kind of, he's just coming back 4 months later to the job, and they put him in charge of this cold case squad. And so it starts off just being him, and then slowly kind of cobbles together this team of people that I just got so attached to by the end of the movie. But it's just and it's kind of slow starting off, but the ending twist at the beginning of the first episode was like, oh God, I got to watch the second one. And then there were just more twists and turns throughout the whole. I think there's 8 or 9 episodes, so it's not super long.
And did you say this is, I know it's on Netflix, but did you say it's a BBC production?
I don't know.
Okay. I only asked because I was like, is it going to be like this season and done? Because I know they do a lot of limited series that just, or is it going to be like?
I mean, if it was just the one season and done, then I mean, it has a good ending.
It has an ending. Okay.
Well, I mean, there is like, there's definitely room if they do a second season for that to kind of be pulled through to the next season. But I thought it had a good ending. So if that was all we get, I hope not. I hope there's more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was excellent show. I may even rewatch it again.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. No, I've heard about it because I've heard.
Very good.
Because there's a new show on Apple Plus called Smoke. And it's another one of those, like, I don't know, I guess like detective crime, whatever, procedurals or something. And people were saying, if you like Department Q, check out Smoke. So I was like, okay, what's Department Q? I will say,
like, if anyone ever watched House.
Okay.
I didn't. The medical show.
Yeah.
DCI Mork, that's the name of the lead, Matthew Good's character. He's very much like as if House was a police detective. So
okay.
He's very grumpy. He's very like
blunt
and just kind of lets other people have it. But
that's what made House
you
great.
Still care about still care about him, and you still root for him, even though he's brash and abrasive, and then the other team members that kind of pull in around him. I just love them all.
Okay, well, cool. I'll have to check it out.
Definitely worth checking out.
Okay, well, my recommendation is a book. Just because it's like we just wrapped it up in our neighborhood book club, and I enjoyed it, so I thought I'd pitch it. So it's called All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. And like I said, I liked it. I think overall the book club liked it. It's not, it's like one of the bestseller type books, so it's not like it's an obscure title. I think it was like on some best of 2024 lists. So, make of that what you will. Some of them, sometimes it's a hit or miss with those, but it's like a good mystery thriller. It's a good missing person story, crime solving situation. So if you like that sort of thing, I do. So I did the audiobook. It's a big book. It was like 200 something chapters, but it's like listening to the audiobook, like a chapter would be like a minute and a half. So they're very short. I'm imagining. I haven't like held the book, but people at the book club say it's pretty thick. But it's an easy read. I say easy as in like easy to get through, but I enjoyed it. So give that a look if you like missing person stories and crime stuff and that kind of thing.
Cool. What was it, that other show you said? Smoke. On where?
Smoke, and it's on Apple Plus.
Oh, I don't know if we have Apple Plus.
It stars Taron Egerton. I don't know if it's out yet. If it's not, it's going to be out soon. But I'm seeing promotional stuff for it. Yeah, I think it's already out because I'm already seeing headlines about like episode 2 reveal and stuff like that. So I think you can already watch it. Yeah, it's already out. It came out just like this weekend, I guess. Yeah, so those are good recommendations. And then the only other thing to make sure people know about, this is your final plug, I'm reading Jawbone by Mónica Ojeda. Still working my way through that, but I'll be done in time. Ronnie will be done in time. Our next episode this month is going to be book club episode. I'm just going to put this out there right now.
This month? You mean July?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. We're not recording it but when this episode releases in July, the second one in July will be book club episode. And if you're a member of our Patreon family, please know that you are able to toss out suggestions for our next book club pick. And it's kind of worked itself out, Veronica. I was looking at this. It's kind of worked itself out to where we are doing book club episodes kind of seasonally. So this was our summer read. Our next book club discussion episode will probably be in October. It's typically been in October, so that's our fall read. And then we do a winter read. Then the episode usually comes out in January and so on. So if you want to select our fall read and you're a member of our Patreon, please start tossing out suggestions. Yeah, we'll link our Patreon for you in show notes so you can go and be part of that. It's free to join. Follow us on social media at Don't Watch at Night Pod everywhere. And Ron, is there anything else?
Nope.
That we need to mention before Riverside boots us off again? That was like terrifying. It's like if we lost this entire episode, that's just it. I quit. We're going to have to try again another day. So
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, we're so glad to be back, guys. We're turning 2. We're officially 2. So we're now entering into year 3. This is us in year 3. The best is yet to come. Good things on the horizon. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production hosted by me, Valerie, and Veronica. Editing by me. Music by Omar Chakor. Production support for this episode provided by Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street. Listen to new episodes of Don't Watch at Night every other Monday, and don't forget to give us a rate and review. It's the best way to help us grow.